Welcome back to my channel. Stefan Wolf is here with not another sharpening video, but of course sharpening related. A new stone in the house. Man-made, engineered aluminium oxide abrasive by ZISCHE, a German brand, German manufacturer. In their Missarka line you can see F for FEPA 1000, which is around Japanese industry standard 3000, so roughly 5 microns. Brand new stone. And let's check, is it flat, fresh from the factory? The way I'm checking the flatness, very simple: reference granite plate and simple standard piece of copy paper. If it slits under the stone, Houston, we have a problem. Can you see that? So it's dished on this side, in the middle, as usual for many stones, and the other side on the corners. So some lapping will be in place soon, later in this video. Let's check, is this stone porous, how it holds water, does it absorb it. And you can see that it's like a sponge. Next step in the process, of course, flattening the stone after we discover that it's not flat, fresh from the factory, out of the box, straight from Germany. As usual, some pencil marks for reference, and I'm starting with 60 grit. Let's check for a second time what is the discrepancies in the flatness. High on the corners. I can tell you this is pretty hard stone. And now when the stone is flat on the both sides, the edges are chamfered, it's time to finish on 400 grit silicone carbide abrasive grain, just to condition the stone being FEPA 1000 or Japanese industry standard 3000. In my opinion, 400 grit is just right for conditioning the surface. And that's enough. So after checking the flatness and lapping the new Missarka by ZISCHE abrasive, aluminium oxide sintered FEPA 1000, Japanese industry standard 3000 stone. The first use, and I'm starting my work with old familiar 3CR13 MOV, molybdenum vanadium, Chinese vegetable cleaver, branded by IKEA and for sure produced in China, between 50 and 55 on the Rockwell C scale. Very common type of kitchen knife. And with this type of steel, these stones, by the way, this is ZISCHE Missarka FEPA 500, which is around Japanese industry standard 1200. So these two stones are my German sintered aluminum oxide progression. Let's check it out. Distressing the edge as usual. I can see continuous reflection of white from the whole edge. And what I'm trying is a plateau sharpening. This stone is extremely hard, is conditioned with 220 grit silicone carbide, abrasive grain on glass, so it cuts a little bit quickly for its grit rating. And I'm applying between 1 and 1.5 kilograms of force. Both of the stones were soaked for about 15 minutes in water, so you can see they hold up the water on the surface, or at least this one. You will see the 1000 in a minute or two. So the goal here is to form the apex almost, to stop shy from reaching the apex, and then create a micro bevel. You can see how much metal this stone removes, being around 13 microns abrasive. But again, keep in mind, it's sintered aluminum oxide. There is no bonding. It's pressed and baked, basically. All of that is metal swarf, water and metal particles. By conditioning the stone on 220 grit silicone carbide on glass, and being such a hard stone, I can alter, just to rinse it off, I can alter the speed of the stone. As I said, it cuts a little bit faster than it's supposed to. A few cleaning passes. The reflection of white from the apex is almost gone. It's barely visible. Trying to refine the scratch pattern, and for that I need a little bit drier stone, only the weight of the knife. I have excellent results on simple stainless steel wall carbon kitchen knives with this stone. I can use it as single stone for sharpening such knives. But the idea of today's video is to start getting familiar with the 1000 ZISCHE Missarka. So this is cutting, but it's not cutting cleanly. It's very important with the 500 grit stone, after every use, to use a spray bottle to lift up the metal particles embedded into the stone. This is the easiest way to keep it clean. So, as I said, this is the FEPA 1000, which is around 5 microns and is equivalent of Japanese industry standard 3000. I will do two things. At first, a couple of passes, let's say not a couple, a dozen of passes on each side, a couple of times for refining the scratch pattern on primary bevel and then creating a micro bevel. Let's check how the stone cleans up. Again, in my opinion, using the spray bottle immediately after using the stone gives me the best possible result. So micro bevel. A couple more. I think we are ready. It's wrinkled and wet, this brochure, but yes, come on. Definitely, I can see plenty of sharpness on slice, but not a great deal of push cutting, and this is one of the matters that will be explored in future videos, but in my opinion, this stone gives plenty of sharpness. The apex is clean, is fully formed. The micro bevel is slightly pronounced. Definitely an interesting stone, an interesting follow-up to the 500, which is one of my most used stones for stainless steel kitchen knives. Of course, with these stones, with this stone, alterations will be done just to get familiar how it works. So I will finish it on, let's say, 600 silicone carbide abrasive grain, going down to 400, trying at 320, searching for the best conditioning, the best finish of the stone. In the moment is smooth as glass, and when I refine the scratch pattern, you heard that there were high-pitched like scratches noises. In my opinion, that was the shoulder of the primary bevel. hitting the corners if they are not chamfered, or just is too finely finished. I'm guessing, of course, this should be observed under magnification, and I have only 10x magnifying glass. But as I said, this 500 finish on 220 leaves a little bit rougher finish. And I cannot detect such roughness now on the shoulders, the transition between the bevel and the edge. Interesting. And the question of why this stone gives such good slice, because it's very aggressive, it's clean and aggressive. I can see the edges of the paper, but how can I alter to have push cut? We can try working with now drier stone. A little bit better with the grain. But not perfect. Keep in mind this is JIS 3000 equivalent, so probably this is the reason. As usual, it's a new stone and my guesses are pretty wild. This stone should be used many times with many different steels, with many different techniques, with plenty of water, a little bit dried up, just to have the basic information, to have some real data to give you. Is this stone worth buying and including in your sharpening setup? For sure gives sharp edge. The question is, can it be sharper? The elusive battle and struggle for great sharpness. You can see on slice it's perfect for its grit rating, around 5 microns, and I'm not using stropping, so no alteration with compounds on leather. Again, you can see a little bit of swarf on the stone. Let's clean it. almost perfect. I presume it will get dirty as this one. Basic setup. ZISCHE, so Missarka, they make this stone, the FEPA 500 or Japanese industry standard 1200, in combination with 150 silicone carbide combo stone, which has bonding material, so sintered aluminium oxide and glued to a chunk of standard green silicone carbide core stone. So if you buy a combination stone, you will have 150, 500, 1000, which is from around 60 microns, 30 microns, 5 microns. You have 2 stones, 3 grids, perfect setup for stainless steel kitchen knives, for European kitchen knives up to 58, 60 on the OCC scale, and very hard. I will not hesitate to use these tools for chisels or plane blades, but they are pretty narrow, so keep in mind, for chisels yes, for plane blades probably no. Plenty of rambling, but I'm pretty excited about my new acquisition. I wanted this stone for a couple of years and finally I bought one. So I have the family 500, 1000, and you saw, for simple stainless steels, excellent result on slice and decent result with the grain on 90-degree push cut. Thank you for watching and stay safe.